Hello, my friends. I'm very happy. As usual, I'm always happy. I'm always excited to be with you, to share this time with you, and to talk about things that really matter to you, that really matter to me. Because after all, health is something that you're going to enjoy. And if you don't have it, you're going to suffer. So, talking about health is always important because this is a conversation about you and about what can we do together to keep that health. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm the medical director at BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. And we have been, as a group, together since the 1970s. There is when I met a lot of the people with which we put together programs and ideas and goals in how to treat sick people. In some way, we were all a little bit disappointed about the course that medicine was taking, the lack of personal attention, the lack of just rapport between the doctor and the patient. But that lack of rapport, that lack of personal relationship or personal support, it wouldn't really matter that much if doctors were more close to the patient. And by that I mean that closeness and personal attention goes beyond me being nice with you, beyond worry about you and your family, beyond taking care of some little needs that you might have. It really goes way beyond. Not only goes beyond, but it goes to areas that are very important for medical care, that medicine at that time was disregarding. We were not paying enough attention. I'm an MD, I'm a doctor. I lived in a hospital and I went on call and I was on medical rounds and talked to all sorts of medical specialists to discuss cases and so on. And every time we were doing this, I saw that we were lacking something. And it really, believe me, this is not about being nice. This is not about being really personable or addressing you by your first name. Hi, John, how are you doing? It is always helpful. Of course, it's always helpful to know who the patient is. But it went to areas that medicine was disregarding as to what is your life like? How happy are you with your life? What do you eat? How you choose your foods? What is your physical activity level? What is your bowel movements like? How often you void? Things like that, because they are a direct reflection of your health status. Not only that, but also in what's going to happen with your life in the future. And I learned, thank God, very early in my medical career, that if I try to get ahead of the situation, I would be with less work load. Not only that, but happier patients. And that made me happy as well. So when I started doing my general medicine practice and talking to patients, many times I was talking to my patient and looking at a child that came with a lady that came for whatever reason, and then I would say, and how old is this kid? Oh, he's 4 years old. Is he your son? Yes. And then I could see things that I said, you know what? This child might have parasites. I can see it because of this or the other. So I think we should, I know you're coming because of your headache or because of your toothache, but I think we should do some tests on your child and make sure that he's okay. And then sure enough, I found out that this child really had some little health problems that were very easily solvable. We can do very little things and solve them. So I was not only with a happy patient, because we got rid of her problem, but I had a very happy mother because she didn't have to wait until this child developed any symptoms. We were able to address the problem early in life. Or you could see that the child was gaining weight, and the weight was not what was expected at that age. So we would say, okay, what are you doing? How are you feeding your child? Do you get me? I started preventing things before they happen. And that's what BioCare is all about. So when I started going to big hospitals and working in large medical centers, and I could see the food that was brought to a patient, I was trying to figure out if that food was going to be conducive to healing. If that food would do what we expect food to do. And then I got one of the first problems. And that's not only medicine, that's every single individual. Nobody wonders why we eat. We think we eat because of pleasure. We say comfort food. So we eat because we like something, because it's palatable, because it's sweet, because it's fatty, because it's salty, because whatever. We all have our very special preferences. But after all, nobody stopped and wondered, why do we eat in the first place? What do we expect from the food we're putting in the body? And when you start not only asking, but answering those questions, then a lot of things start to become very clear. Because all of a sudden, you realize that food that you're ingesting, that your intake goes beyond just so many calories and way beyond how tasty it is. You're eating because you want with that food create a good energy supply for your body, and you want to create the building blocks that are going to make every single part of your body, every single cell. So when you think in that direction, you say, okay, now I understand. I have to choose quality over quantity. Because if I'm building a house, I choose material carefully. And I know that I have to go and buy good bricks, good lumber, good everything, because I want my house to be strong and sturdy and last. That's what we want to do with our body. So take this very poor food choosing to a person that is sick, with a higher calorie demand, with a higher healing demands, and you're giving these people what? Chips? That's going to go nowhere. You're only going to get sicker. And people do not realize I'm having chips and soda pop. Think again. You're bringing things to your body because you want to heal, because you want to build it up, because you want to create energy. Does a soda pop bottle with everything in it that we know and a bag of chips going to do it? Of course not. And then we started looking at things like cleansing and intravenous feeding and a lot of potential things we could do for people in order to heal them. And finally, one day we were sitting together and we said, unless we control the kitchen, unless we control the nursing staff, unless we control the environment of the patient, we will never get to where we want to go. And that brought the idea of a BioCare center. A center where I could bring a patient and the patient would be cared through biological methods. We wanted to use biology as our guidance. We wanted to use your own body's wisdom as a guide to keep you healthy and to bring you back to health. And that demanded a very special effort. We needed a BioCare hospital and wellness center. We couldn't do it without it. I couldn't go to any hospital and say, I want this patient with cancer to go on a vegetarian diet. Number one, they will not do diets to pleasure. They're going to give some food to patients, and you just have very few choices. Low calorie, low salt, low everything. Because somehow medicine has developed the idea that the only way to create a healthy diet is by canceling certain things. Low carb, low calorie, low sugar, low salt, low something. And that's not the idea. The idea is that a person, healthy or sick, has a full demand for nutrition. And the same way all this is happening, we need a hospital where everything that comes in goes out in the best way possible. So we take care of your bowel movements, your urine, we measure, we count it, we make sure that everything happens normally. And that depends on another very important part of this strategy, which is the intestinal health. Most people have chronic constipation, chronic cramps, chronic bloating, chronic everything. And the most important organ in the immune system is the gut. So we have to treat it well, because that's an essential part of what we want to achieve. So we couldn't do it without a BioCare hospital and wellness center. I couldn't go to any regular hospital and say, I want this type of diet, I want this cleansing method, I want this intestinal flora implant and fortification, I want an anti-inflammatory strategy. None of that was regularly available in a normal hospital. So we needed to create our own. So back in the 1970s, the idea was born, and we got it. We have BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. My dear friends, I'm talking about the history and the idea behind the creation of BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm the medical director. And I have been in the managing team and designing team ever since its creation. And I'm very proud of what we have done. I'm very proud of what we have achieved. And we have thousands of patients that love us, that follow us, that have been here, and that have found healing and well-being. So, once again, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, Medical Director of BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. And I was telling you about the idea of why do you need a special hospital to do what you want to do. Cannot just go to any hospital, cannot just go to any place and do it. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not, because we don't run hospitals, from my personal point of view, the way we should. We're missing a very important part. And that part that we're missing is you. I have to be very personal. I have to know who you are, and I have to know how you function. Because if I really know it, if I have a complete knowledge, then I'm going to be able to address other problems that might be a contributor in your health issue. So, if you have cancer, for example, a terrible disease, we all hate it. We all are afraid of cancer. But I don't take care of your dental health, and I discover that you have an abscess or that you have a problem with your teeth, and I don't take care of it. I'm using a lot of resources, immunological resources, to fight a minor problem when I should be concentrating on the fight against the cancer. So, dental evaluation, for example, is one of the important parts that BioCare does for every single patient. Whether you come here for rejuvenation and prevention, or whether you have a deadly disease like cancer, you do it because that might be the key for your well being. We have diseases that did not exist. How can we treat a disease that doesn't exist? Well, simple. You treat a person with a lot of symptoms that everybody says they're in your head. And I remember when we started treating people with chronic fatigue syndrome, with fibromyalgia, and I remember even medical literature saying that that was fake, that didn't exist, that it was a depressive condition, that people needed to take a vacation, that people needed to do certain things in order to get rid of it. And we started treating them as what it is, a real immunological disorder. A disorder that has been triggered by a lot of factors. Cesarean section that deprives children from the flora from the vagina to enter their bodies when they're born. Abuse of antibiotics with children. Long treatments for this, for that, for infections, for acne, for you name it. Children live on antibiotics. And then no breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is going to also help the intestinal flora, which again is part of your immune system, to develop. It's not just poo. Stop thinking in that direction. Medicine has been gradually changing very slowly to understand that the intestinal content, with all its bacteria that now we recognize and call microbiome, is a very important organ and very critical for our own health and well-being. So when you start understanding all these things and working on the body as a whole, then you start getting people better. But make no mistake, you will never be able to achieve that knowledge. You will never be able to change all that if you don't get involved in how people eat, how people choose their foods, where foods are coming from, how we treat ourselves, how much water we drink, how we take care of that, how we follow on that. All those things are very important in order to keep us in good health. You go to the garage or you go to the gas station. You put the hose in the tank and you fill it up. But that's not the only thing you do. You check your transmission fluids, you check your refrigeration fluids, etc., you make sure that the car has all the levels checked so it can run smoothly and for a long time. You check the pressure in the tires. How do we do that with our bodies? If we just push food in and we don't take care of that, that's when you need BioCare. That's when you need a place like BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center in order to check every single level of every single thing. So we have a very thorough examination of the patient, a very important conversation with where you're coming from, and we try to make sure that we are going to cover and check every single area. This is like a D check on an airplane. And that's an industrial term, but that's when they pull everything apart and check everything and put the airplane back together. That's what you have to do. You have to put yourself in an environment where you're going to rest, where you're going to be taken care of, when you're going to be tested, and where you're going to be correcting everything that has found or has been found to be wrong. And we work on your intestinal well-being every single day, and we work on your immune system every single day, and we're going to work in the inflammation level every day. Let's refer a little bit about inflammation. What am I talking about? Well, inflammation is a normal response of the body when you have any sort of aggressive thing hitting you. And hitting, I mean literally. Like if you hit your finger with a hammer, that's inflammation. It's very crude, very obvious, but it's very easy to understand. You break blood vessels, and that brings a lot of blood to the area, so it gets big, it gets hot, it gets red because of all the blood coming to that area. But once everything is repaired, it disappears and you even forget about it. But there's a level of inflammation that happens every single day at a very low level. And that inflammation is what we call chronic inflammatory disease. And this is triggered mainly by our lifestyle. It has nothing to do with the environment. Not that we have gone through a pandemic. No, this doesn't have to do anything with a virus or with anything like that. We cannot get a vaccine for that. What we have to do is we have to understand or begin to understand how chronic inflammation can be so damaging to our body. That's the foundation for heart disease, #1 killer in America. That's a very important foundation for cancer. That's a very important foundation for Alzheimer's disease. All disease that we do not want to suffer. So what we have to do, we have to create an anti-inflammatory strategy. And that's something we do every single day at BioCare Hospital, because we care about you, because we want to show you the way not only to bring it down, but keep it down, because it is absolutely 100% lifestyle related. Of course, there are extremes where it's very easy to understand where that inflammation is coming from. Like, for example, if you're a smoker, get rid of tobacco and you're going to start improving. But other things are a little bit sneaky, a little bit difficult to identify. And one of the worst is refined sugar. And let me tell you, you can buy salty food and it's going to have a certain amount of sugar if it's industrialized packed food. And same goes for salt. You can buy sweets that contain sodium because it's a very good preservative. So the advice is very simple. Don't even read the labels. You don't have to, because they use different terms to confuse you. Go to the farmer's market and eat fresh, local food. And when you go to those markets, you're going to see what's in season, what's fresh, what's good, what's inexpensive. If you want to have mangoes in Alaska, they have to be expensive. But if you want to have pineapple in Hawaii, it's going to be cheap. So go to your local foods. Salmon is a lot cheaper in Alaska than it can be anywhere else in the United States. So foods are God-given in every location. We just have to learn to eat locally. And what we do at BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center is feed people accordingly. But we're very seasonal. We are absolutely seasonal. Our Thanksgiving dinner, for example, is a delight. I have raving comments, absolutely great comments about what people found on Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, because we're very careful about food. Don't go anywhere, because I want to keep this conversation with you to show you why you have to BioCare. I was telling you that I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I'm the medical director of BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center. And we were talking about why we created this hospital, why we created this center, and how we wanted to have a place where people can come to heal, not only to treat diseases, but to heal, to get better, to recover, to restore. That's what BioCare means, and that is what BioCare does. It really means the world to me and to everyone at BioCare Hospital to make sure you get what you need to get, that you do what you need to do, and that you're going to be inspired to continue doing a lot of good things for yourself. One of the problems, if you want to find a problem, is that I want to make you responsible of your good health. I always tell people, if you come to me because you want me to write a prescription, give it to you, you go to the pharmacy, you take it, you're fine, I'm not that type of doctor. I'm going to be the type of doctor that's going to tell you have to take this, you have to take that, but I want you to make some changes with your life. I want you to eat this way, I want you to exercise, I want you to do these anti-inflammatory strategies, I want you to sleep so many hours, I want you to do, etc. Because if you do, I know I can go a lot further than just getting you better. I can treat you from a flu. I know you're going to improve a lot, because I'm not going to give you a pill so symptoms are erased and you can go on with your life, supposedly, only to find yourself having problems 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month after you got the flu. But if you get the flu and you do as I say, you're going to have it for 3-4 days and you're going to come out energized. You're going to come out feeling better. But you have to do what the saying says. You have to go to bed, you have to drink a lot of fluids, you have to take chicken soup, you have to do all those things. Because chicken soup is just as good as your grandmother told you. You just have to know how to do it. It has a whole chicken in it. And if you have any questions, you can go to our website and we have a very good recipe of how to do it. Simple, but wholesome. That's the most important thing. And once again, the problem is Why do we eat what we eat? Now, there's also a balance, which is important, between your physical activity and your resting time, in particularly your sleep time. Sleep, I cannot begin to tell you how important it is. You know that every organ has a number of waste material that has to be evacuated, taken out, excreted, call it whatever. Because our metabolic functions produce waste material. We produce this, we take the food, we take the energy, we take the oxygen, and we build cells, etc., etc. But we have dead cells, we have debris, we have things that have to go out of the body. And how we do it? We just put it in the blood, sent to the kidneys, it's sent to the liver, and it's going to be taken out of the body. The brain doesn't do that. The brain works and works and works and works. And when we go to sleep, when we follow in deep sleep, your brain expands. And by expanding, it creates a bigger space between each cell that's filled with an intercellular fluid. And then these cells can deposit, your neurons will deposit all that material in that fluid. And after so many hours of sleep, that fluid goes out of the brain comes back to its normal size, and all that fluid took out all the debris, all the waste material, all the inflammatory debris of the brain to the general blood circulation to be excreted by the kidneys or by the liver. How many of you knew that? So going to sleep it's a very important function for our nervous system. And then if you add to that we have a poor intestinal flora that does not produce the type of chemicals that the body needs, like serotonin, like dopamine. Those are the chemicals that make the body function and feel good. Norepinephrine. That's the chemical that wakes you up, that gets you up in the morning, makes you open your eyes and feel energy. All those things are produced in the gut. And then you do not provide the body with all these chemicals. And on the other hand, your brain cannot get rid of the waste material because you never gave the brain the chance to go in deep sleep for many hours. And you don't have to believe me, you can go to any statistic you want, and you're going to see that people that sleep 8 hours live longer. Period. And you live longer because you keep your functions in check. A time to do things, but a time to clean, to cleanse. It's like if you had a factory working all the time. Okay, in a normal factory, you have people that are sweeping the floors, cleaning the thing, etc. The brain doesn't do that. The brain works and works and works and needs the sleep time to do that. Not only that, but at that time, the brain goes through all the files we created during the day and chooses which ones deserve to go to the hard disk, so to speak. Which ones are going to be kept for a long time, which ones are going to be discarded. So if I ask you something that happened yesterday, for example, you might not recall. I might have to bring it up, and I might say, "Oh, remember when we were here?" No, I don't. What are you talking about? Oh, remember we went to the store that you took this cart and the wheels didn't work. And, oh, yes. Why do you didn't remember it clearly? Because last night, when your body checked all the files, this was not important. So it was kind of sent away. And if 2, 3, 4 days are gone, you will not even remember any of that. And for some reason, your friend paid attention to that fact and kept it in his own memory. But the important things in your life are going to be sent to a different type of storage. And that's going to be long-lasting memory. We all get surprised, amazed, when you talk with somebody that's 90 years old, 100 years old, and you say, oh, he talks about things that happened 40 years ago as if it were yesterday. Why? Because all those facts are in that type of storage. It's like the hard disk of your computer. See, it's not a floppy. They're in the hard disk. And you will be able to talk about it and remember them for many, many, many years. And they are very important because they are the type of memories and the type of information that your body will need, your brain will need to create new memories, to create new experiences, to plan and to do things. See, when I talk to you, you might be in the kitchen doing the dishes and somebody's listening and you hear it and you say, oh, that's Dr. Rodriguez. How you did that if you're not watching me? How you know, oh, my grandmother arrived or the children are here because you heard the noise. Your brain tells you, because of those experiences that have been well kept, that noise is your children coming home, that sound, that voice is your husband coming home, or that voice on the TV might be me or might be whoever. So it is because of all those memory files kept in check because you slept well. If you don't do it, you're going to be clumsy, you're going to be hard to focus, and you're going to be unhealthy. Because if you cannot get rid of the waste material of your brain, guess what? The brain reacts with chronic inflammation. And you know what's behind Alzheimer's? Chronic inflammation. And Alzheimer's used to be an unknown disease. When I was in medical school, we used to tease friends, like, oh, they're going to ask you in the exam about Alzheimer's disease, and you'd say, oh my God, what is that? I don't know. And now we all know about it. You can go to the grocery store and talk to the cashier, and she'll know what is Alzheimer's. Because today is the 6th cause of death in the United States. And what's behind it? Chronic inflammation. And that might be because you just do not get your 8 hours of sleep. So you have to start planning your life. What you eat, what you do, how you sleep, how you rest, how you do with your vacation. If you start doing what you have to do, you're going to start BioCaring. And when you choose to BioCare, everything is possible. You're going to be a lot better. Everything is going to function better. And we realized that we needed that BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center, which opened the doors in 1985. So you can think of how many years, how many thousand patients we had very happy they came here. We'll continue talking about it. Don't go anywhere. My friends, I don't know about you, I have had a lot of fun talking about what I do, who I am, and I chose to talk about me and BioCare Hospital and Wellness Center because I'm very frequently asked. I mean, I give conferences around the world. I talk to many people everywhere. I go to meetings in all over the United States and South America and Europe, and they invite me to talk to Japan. And when I go and talk to people, many times people say, "Okay, you're telling me this, you're telling me that. Where are you coming from?" Or many times I'm asked, "Doctor, will you please explain who you are and what you do?" And that's what I wanted to do today. And I thought every week we talk about a lot of health problems. We talk about uh, what we do and how we do it, etc. And of course, uh, we all are inspired by you. Because when you become a doctor, hopefully, and that's what I tell my medical students, I teach at the University of Baja School of Medicine, and I tell my students, hopefully, you're studying medicine because you want to help people. So when you become a doctor because you really want to help people, you not only do what you have to do, but you watch at the results. You see what works, what doesn't work. And what I could add, what could I bring to the table that will help me further? And that's where I'm coming from. I come from a family that was very naturally oriented, and it was very, but it was instinctive. Both my grandmothers, my mother, my father, all of them were very instinctively oriented to nature. So they chose very well what we were going to eat. They were very, I remember my father telling my mother, "Don't do this because that's not good for the children." He didn't mean that we liked it or didn't like it. He didn't say, "Don't give them because they don't like this." He said, "Don't give it to them because this is not good for children." So we have to plan meals according to what is good for children. And many of you might remember the times when your mother would tell you you have to eat this because winter is approaching, or because summer is approaching. And what brings summer? Heat. So conservation of foods becomes a lot more problematic. So there were reasons, natural reasons for that. I come from the generation that I ate according to the season. Not because it was fashionable, because there was no option. I mean, you couldn't have strawberries in December. You had to eat them around Easter time, where in southern Mexico you get a lot of strawberries. So you ate according to the season, fresh food, local food, etc. So I was very lucky in that respect. But hearing about it creates a very important imprint in your head. And being a doctor, then you start looking at what you know as a doctor and what you know as an individual and how you put them all together. And then I realized that there was a time where if you were talking about diet with a patient or food with a patient, that would make you a quack. They would say, "What does food have to do with cancer?" But now we have changed. We understand the value of lifestyle. Not only understand it, but the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta tells us that about 40% of the most deadly diseases in America can be prevented by lifestyle changes and supplementation. So that has only backed what we have done for many years. But I tell you, it excites me every morning to see what else can I do to make you believe, to make you wonder, to make you reflect, to inspire you, to make lifestyle changes. To share these conversations with your family, with your friends, with your co-workers, with your church members, and say, hey, there might be something to it. I don't want you to just say, oh, great, you're my guru. No, I want to say, there might be something to it, and I have to reflect on it. And I can sit with my family and have a health board, a family health board, where we're going to explore all these possibilities. We're going to listen to a lot of this information and then say, we can make changes. Open up the pantry, open up the fridge, and see what has to go and what has to come in. And this Sunday, go to the local market. Go to places where you can buy fresh, local food, seasonal food. And you start making the changes. Now, that, of course, when I was studying medicine, was completely off the hospital environment, off the medical conversation, off everything. All I could talk to patients is about chemical names, laboratory testing, X-rays. That was what my conversation should be. I couldn't talk to a patient and say, I mean, honestly, and how do you feel today? Because to me, it's very important to know if you feel tired, if you feel excited, if you feel anything, because that might be giving me a clue of what's happening. You might be all wind up because you have a lot of coffee. And then I have to guide you to how coffee can be good at certain dose. Why some of the problems you have are as simple as stop smoking. Why, if you make these changes, the bloatedness, the constipation of your bowel is going to be a lot better. But better yet, I can tell you to have a BioCare health getaway. What does that mean? That means that I go to BioCare Health Hospital and Wellness Center, and I stay there for 10 days, 2 weeks. I have a jump start with everything. I can be cleansed, I can be supplemented, I can be tested. I have a lot of patients that tell me, you know what, doctor? I got in 24 hours the test that at home would normally take me 2 weeks. Because you have to have an appointment, you have to go here, you have to go there. And when you come to BioCare, the first thing you do is blood is going to be drawn, it's going to be sent to the laboratory, and before the day is over, we start getting results. And probably by the same day, we already did an EKG, a chest X-ray, a lot of things. So the following morning, we're ready to go. And then we start looking at what the parameters are. What are the inflammatory markers? What is your immune capacity? What is your vitamin and nutritional level? So I can start acting upon everything immediately. And because you're taken care of, lovingly being taken care of, food is going to be brought to your bed, or you can go to the dining table, and everybody is going to go every single day through what's available and what are the doctor's orders for you. Not only that, but you can say none of the above. What if instead of this, you give me that, which is according to what I can eat? But I feel a lot better if I had it this way. And sure enough, we go out of our way to please you, because I want to convince you that everything is possible. Once you choose to BioCare, everything is possible. And you can see how your strength, how your well-being starts to come back. I have people that come in a stretcher, in a wheelchair. And between intravenous feeding and cleansing and detoxification and just putting your act together, you're going to feel better and better and better and better. So once again, you are the reason for BioCare to work and to function and to see how we can better your health, your condition. And when people go home, you already have a lot of friends. You can call the kitchen and ask for a recipe. You can call your doctor every day if you want to. You can ask questions. You're going to be supplied with your supplements right at your doorstep. You don't have to do anything. We're going to be there for you. All you have to do is BioCare yourself. But now you know how. Now you have a lot of tools to work on your health. And I have people that have been coming to BioCare for many years, and I can proudly say that I have patients that have been here for generations, that I saw the father, the grandfather, the children, and all of them choose to come to BioCare because they found a very comprehensive way to treat people and to treat a disease. So don't think of it. If you have any questions, if you have any chronic problems, if you feel you're not doing the way you should be doing, you can always ask questions. You can go to BioCare. We're in every single social media. So you can go to Twitter, to Instagram. You can go to Spotify and search for Truth Be Told Radio Network and listen to programs like this. We have over 100 hours. But better yet, you can give us a call. When you choose to BioCare, everything is possible. I'll talk to you next week.